Hello, YouTube world. This is Terry Carl, lightworker and adventurer. And today's topic is related to an intuitive report that I just got with Brian, my fiance, over the weekend. I'm also going to talk about a few dreams that I had this week. The intuitive report part was about night terrors, and the dreams I had this week that I'm focusing on are about overcoming obstacles, or obstacles in general. Yeah. So, it's a little later than I wanted. It's Thursday. I think I'm going to be doing dreams on Wednesday. I don't know. Tuesday's not working, but I want to get into a regular flow, so we'll see. But, I think I've talked about intuitive reports before. But this particular intuitive report is a crossing. It's called a past life crossing, and in case you missed any previous conversations that I've had about it, an intuitive report involves a person going into the Akasha records, which is the record of anything done, said, thought, and you can go back into a previous lifetime. You can go back to between lifetimes. It's bring up something from your history to help you better understand and learn in this lifetime. So the lifetime that I shared with Brian in that crossing was in Australia, and we are actually both male, and we actually never met, which, as I understand, is unusual. But we did influence each other. We were in different tribes in Africa. I think it was the 1400s. And I was doing a lot of spiritual work with the elements: fire, water, air, earth. And Brian was doing a lot of work with technological advance for what they were doing at the time, for what his tribe was working on. And I was also a protector of the group. Because I think what I gathered, and which makes sense for this lifetime too, is that I was grounded in a way that the other spiritual leaders of the group were not. So I was able to bring my wisdom to what was happening on the physical plane to see ahead and make sure that our work was able to continue. So it's an awesome report. I'll be sharing about it next week. I think I'm going to share the whole thing. It was 45 minutes. Live on my Facebook page, so feel free to check that out. Look at Terry Carl Joy to find that. The question that I asked, because you're allowed to ask questions at the end of the report, and they can be about pretty much anything, and they can just say no if they don't want to answer, is what is the source of Brian, my fiance's night terrors, and suggestions for how to work with this or heal this. Sometimes Brian will wake up in the middle of the night and he'll be talking, and he usually is kind of scared of something, and he'll be insisting something is there that's not there. And a lot of times I either sleep through it or I just say go back to sleep, it's not real. Which eventually works, but it's disruptive for me and for him. And so what they said is that Brian has Vata energy, which I'm remembering, I want to look that up, and has a lot of thoughts going on in his head, and sometimes he doesn't know where the thoughts are coming from and doesn't bring the thoughts to a processed conclusion, and so they're carried over into his subconscious mind to be worked out, and that sometimes turns into the night terrors. So they offered a suggestion of him to write out his thoughts, not keep them in here, and also ask questions and work out whatever he needs to work out on paper, resolve it before he goes to sleep, which I thought was cool. I think they're also talking about making sure that he acknowledges that he has desires and getting those out in the forefront in the conscious mind, that can also resolve some of the inner tension that he's having. So that might be useful for you too. If you're having unpleasant dreams, see if you can work out some things on paper, do some reflecting before you go to bed so that you can work on other stuff while you're dreaming. And the other thing that I wanted to share was something that was mentioned in the report for me specifically, was the recognition that there is nothing bad, because even things that we find challenging have a purpose. And in fact, when we're wanting to stretch and grow, we will find obstacles that are needed to overcome so that we can expand and grow. It's like any kind of initiation or any kind of, moving on a path, and there's something in the way that makes you stronger when you're able to break through and continue on that path. The dream that I had was, beforehand I was in a foreign country, but the part I remember was I was looking out in the distance, and there were these cliffs, these big, I guess they were mountains. At the time I wasn't really thinking of them as mountains, and I noticed that there were little avalanches coming down, and this was pretty far away. It was pretty far in the distance for me, but I could see the avalanches happening. And then at one point, just this huge avalanche release was coming, and I knew that it was going to reach me. And so I basically took in a big, deep breath as I anticipated it coming, and then that dream ended with me just being covered completely by the debris from the avalanche, kind of like the debris from a volcano. It's more what it seemed like, or like a big wave just being washed over by a wave. And I remember waking up and wondering, would it be possible for me to survive that, even holding my breath, so that I would have some oxygen, because I was like buried. I don't know, but letting myself just sit with it and come up what might come up, I made the connection to my intuitive report as I was listening to the recording where I was talking about obstacles, because mountains, cliffs are symbolic of a challenge. It's something you have to surmount to get to the peak, to your next level. And so I believe the dream had to do with obstacles and feeling like I was being buried by obstacles. If I could just hold my breath, if I could just hang in there, then I could survive, which is not what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to face the obstacles. So I'm pretty sure that's what the dream meant for me. Could mean something different if it was your dream. So what I would do with those dreams is write down more of my thoughts, because sometimes I have the same issues as Brian. We all do. Not the waking up at night, but having unpleasant dreams or confusing dreams. Work out more of it during the day. And also to embrace all pieces of life. I'm finding that there are still instances where I get frustrated with inconvenient things or unpleasant things that pop up in my environment. I want things to be easy and things to be pleasant, and they can be if I change my perspective. If I find a way to appreciate even things that just kind of poke at me or poke at my ego. That's what I have for you today. So I will be back again next week. Definitely not Tuesday, because I'm planning on doing some fun things on Tuesday. Not that this isn't fun, but spontaneously fun things. So next Wednesday, as I mentioned, I'll be listening to the Intuitive Report, most likely with you guys. So I think probably I'll be back with more dreams on Thursday. So watch for that on YouTube, and keep an eye out if you're on Facebook for different events coming up. There's an event coming up on the 30th. It's going to be awesome at the Kirk Center. Look for that also on my page, Terry Carl Joy. Have a wonderful week. Happy holidays, whatever you celebrate, or if you don't celebrate, have a happy rest of your year, and much love and many blessings. Bye now.